Alright everyone, so this is just going to be a kind of a general hopping around topics vlog, collapsing multiple short topics into one video instead of making several shorter videos videos because why not? It's my my second channel. Who gives a shit? One of the recent videos I posted on my second channel as of last time I checked it had 8 views, so I think the answer is no one gives a shit. So I'll basically just talk about whatever the fuck I want. So surprisingly, considering how there was a point last year where I posted I think 3 videos, 3 vlogs kind of talking about my insomnia issues, which I've been struggling with for essentially 30 years now, and I'm 37. So yes, I've had these issues since I was a small child. No hyperbole there, since I was, maybe not literally since I was 7, but I think definitely by the time I was 9, I was having issues with sleep. And by the time it was junior high, I was off to the races with that. I was almost at my lifelong low point. Well, no, I feel like maybe around when I was 20 or 21 in college was the absolute low point, because I don't know, maybe it wasn't worse then, but these days I have a thing on my phone. I think the app is called Alarm Me, that literally forces you to do stuff like shake the phone really hard 100 times or do math equations to turn the blaring alarm off. So that'll force me awake, whereas in college I had not a phone alarm, but the physical alarm, and I would find that I could literally, I would set it so I could get up for class, and then I would have literally no memory of having gotten up to walk across the room to turn it off and go back to bed. So yeah, so that was bad. So I don't know, it was either then when I was about 20 or 21 or last year, 2022, when I was at the kind of nadir of my entire life up to this point in terms of my insomnia. But surprisingly, there's been some like slight improvements on that front in the last few months. Slight, like it's still pretty bad. It's still very irregular. If you were to line every human being on Earth up, from the least sleep issues to the most sleep issues, I'm still quite positive I'd be comfortably within the 95th percentile of the one end. But there's been slight improvements from how things were like last year. So it's the weird thing. I expect I would be able to manage, because I think my natural circadian rhythm, I don't know, I believe circadian rhythm is a very real thing. I don't know the science's official opinion on that, nor do I especially care at this point. But I mean, I certainly believe it's a real thing, because in college, or not even in college, like in junior high and high school, during the summer, if I didn't have anything else to do, which usually I didn't, my sleep schedule would pretty naturally within a few days, heck, it wouldn't even need to be the summer, it could just be like a regular 2-day weekend. My sleep schedule would pretty rapidly go to a schedule of sleeping about maybe like 5 a.m. to noon or something like that. And I would actually usually be able to sleep pretty consistently then. So maybe in a perfect world where I was able to do that, maybe I would sleep a lot better. In fact, I feel reasonably confident that I would sleep at least somewhat better. Maybe I'd still have issues. Maybe it would still be like strange and irregular and restless, but I feel like I would probably sleep slightly better. So I don't know, maybe I should go get a job as a night watchman or a nighttime, I don't know, just something. I picture like these movie scenes, of just eerie, dark blue lighting, someone alone in a booth. I feel like I might do pretty good at something like that. I don't know. So maybe I will have to look into that, doing a midnight to 8 a.m. shift somewhere. Or I can just try to actually kick off this author thing properly, which I will discuss later in this little vlog. Or is it a vlog or is it a podcast? Because I didn't bother turning the camera on myself. I mean, I could. I have clothes on. I'm not sitting here in the nude or anything. But either way, so yeah. But so unfortunately, I don't live in the world where I can do that at the moment, anyway. So I'm aiming to try to sleep from roughly 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Because I might do a little better if I shifted a little later, like 1 to 8, like 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. But I don't know, if it's gonna be more or less regular, or more or less normal, I'll just try to force it into as close to normalcy as I can, right? So, when I don't fall asleep by 11 p.m., I subtract from that end, which is say I still like kind of try to force myself awake around 6 a.m. and cope through the day with a minimal sleep, which I am quite practiced in. Like I said, I've been doing such for almost 30 years, including probably every single day of school, essentially 99.5% of days from 7th grade through senior year of high school, never running on more than 2 or 3 hours of sleep. And I more or less pulled A's. I did a little cheating, but I more or less pulled A's. So I'm used to it. So if I get 5 hours of sleep, it's not a disaster for me by any means. I'm not a coffee all day person. I don't know. I just don't love it enough to do that. I have it with breakfast usually with my fruit and my yogurt, but it's more a flavor thing, the bitterness of the coffee contrasting the sweetness of the yogurt than really being a hardcore coffeeholic. So what I do is during the day I drink Monster Zeros, the big tall cans, right, to force that caffeine into me. I don't really hold to the belief that it's bad for my health inside my body. What it is probably bad for is my teeth, so I try to kind of swish water or a mouthwash, after I drink it, to kind of prevent my teeth from dissolving as much as possible. But so night habits, I try to kind of maintain to make sleep possibly come a little better. I try to use the nighttime, as in the right before bed nighttime, not the last 3 hours before bed or something, but the 45 minutes or so leading up to bed. I try to use that for reading. I'm trying to read 40, 50, 60 pages of novels a day anyway, so I can review more novels on my main YouTube channel. So yeah, I'll read a little bit during the day, maybe 20 pages or something, but I try to use that nighttime as kind of my reading time. And I might put something on on the TV, like a YouTube, like a lo-fi playlist or something like that. But I definitely try not to use the time immediately leading up to sleep for watching TV or movies or maybe YouTube, because you kind of pay a little less attention to that, especially if it's kind of vlog type channels. But definitely not TV or movies. And I'm really trying not to look at the internet right before bed, because I don't know, that kind of activates the brain electricity a little bit too much, even if it's just kind of some simple websites. Definitely I'm trying to cut off social media pretty much 100% cold turkey. I admit I snuck a few peeks at Reddit this last week, but I'm gonna try to cut that off and essentially cut anything that kind of angries up the blood. Say, news, politics, current events, whatever the fuck is going on with the governments and the politicians. I'm basically trying to revert to full childhood in that regard, just pretend none of that exists, just cut it out of my life as completely as someone in AA needs to cut out booze. I'm basically just trying to, and so that's kind of why even if I try to only subscribe to Reddit subreddits that don't have anything to do with that, what do I like world building, fantasy writers, James Bond, pixel art, Zelda, Final Fantasy. Still shit like that will sneak occasionally into the upvoted posts. Very often in the comments someone has to, so I think I just kind of need to basically cut social media. I don't have a Facebook problem or Instagram problem or TikTok or Twitter. I used to look at Twitter a lot, but I've managed to more or less successfully cold turkey myself off that almost a year ago now, and I don't really look at it at all anymore. But I do still sometimes get tempted into Reddit, so I'm gonna try to cut that off as much as possible. But certainly leading up to bed, that's the worst thing. Other internet, maybe a little bit up from that. TV and movies and YouTube, but really I'm just trying to use that time right before bed, the 30-45 minutes right before bed, for kind of reading. I do have to use ZQL, or not ZQL, it's the generic store brand. I think it's called Equate Night Pain, or not Night Pain, Equate Sleep Aid. It has the exact same active ingredient. It's just a couple bucks cheaper per bottle. And I have several bottles. I think I have 4 big bottles of it in the little medicine cabinet, so I have a lot of it. I do unfortunately have to take that every single night. Hopefully it's not the sort of thing you become immune to the active ingredient of, you take it enough, because yeah, when I don't take it, definitely it adds 3-4 hours to my falling asleep time. So unfortunately it is essential that I take it, which I know is probably a bad habit, and I mean, it probably more or less technically counts as a drug addiction, I would have to admit. But yeah, I do take that every night, and it does help. I can physically feel as it kicks in, you know. It doesn't, it's not like you take it and you're out like a light, like, you know, you're getting the anesthesia before your surgery or something like that. I can take a full dose of it and be awake for an hour and a half easily. I mean, almost always, I'd say, for at least like 45 minutes or an hour. But yeah, it can take an hour and a half for it to kick in. So I do have to take that every night, and yeah, I have to coordinate a lot of other things kind of carefully. Diet, I have to eat neither too little nor too much to where I'm excessively hungry, where I can't really, if I'm hungry, then that'll make it hard to go to bed. So that's why I eat dinner kind of late most of the time. I'm not a 6 o'clock dinner guy. I'm like an 8:30. I've even done 9 o'clock dinner guy. And, you know, I can't overeat either, because that full, you know, that lump in your stomach, I almost like it's my need to sleep and somewhat integrate into quasi-normal society and be a quasi-functional person during the day almost forces me to maintain a fairly eating habits. So I'm almost my body and my need to sleep like eliminates the possibility of me becoming either anorexic or obese, right? Because I pretty much have to eat I have to hit, you know, pretty within like a couple hundred calories, right, of each day to be able to sleep. I definitely can't drink too much at night, to where I've almost considered, I mean, maybe this is silly, but I've considered just not drinking anything with dinner, right? Not drinking anything after a certain time, because it's not that I have like a overactive or small bladder or anything, but I think most people, normal people who don't have my sleep disorders, can wake up, go pee in the middle of the night, then go back to bed and go back to sleep. I can't do that. Once I wake up, I'm awake for the day, including if I like fall asleep at midnight and wake up at 3. If I have to wake up to take a piss, I won't fall back asleep. Doesn't matter anything else I've said. Doesn't matter if I've taken my ZzzQuil, my store brand ZzzQuil. Like, if I wake up, then it's over. So I try to, you know, I wait until, well, you don't want to get up to go take a piss right when the ZzzQuil is about to knock you out, when it's like a minute from knocking you out, because then it'll take another like 20 minutes to get myself back towards sleep, right? So I try to coordinate it to where I'm going about 30-20 minutes before I'm gonna fall asleep, right? And that way it doesn't ruin the falling asleep. But I've emptied the bladder before with enough time that it's not going to refill over the night. So I definitely don't drink much at night. Like, I have cans of the bubbly sparkling water. I get the lime, the blackberry, and the cherry flavors, and I just kind of alternate one each night. But I'm thinking maybe I should not even do that, because sometimes even just a couple nights ago, as I'm recording this, I didn't wake up at 3, but I did wake up about 4:30 because I had to take a piss, and I couldn't fall back asleep again, so that sucked. So I gotta coordinate my drink, and I do try to hydrate properly. I try to drink a few bottles of water, but I try to just telescope that all into the first half of the day, including I'll drink an entire huge bottle of water right after breakfast, and then maybe again just like a couple hours later. So I try to hydrate a good amount, but I try to do it all pretty early, and kind of cut that off by 1 or 2 in the afternoon at the latest, and then after that only drink, like I mentioned, one little can of sparkling water with dinner. And this is going to get strictly into TMI, too much information territory here, so if you'd prefer not to hear any more about gross bodily functions, just skip ahead a couple minutes, whatever. I won't be offended. It also won't do if I have to take a shit, right? Won't do if I gotta take a shit. So if I take care of that, I want to take care of that, and that's a slightly more elaborate process than taking a piss. So I'm going to want to take care of that. I like to take care of it, frankly, during the day if possible. Afternoon is kind of my ideal time. I'm not a first thing and I wake up shitter. Never have been. only after breakfast if I have like a heavy breakfast, like I make myself like a bean burrito with or an egg and bean burrito with cheese or something like that, which I usually don't. I almost always just have fruit and yogurt. And after dinner, I don't know, for some reason that's just not the way my internal clock for that works. So I'm a lot more likely to do mid-afternoon, but if I don't for some reason at nighttime, that'll ruin everything if I have to. So I have to coordinate all of that. And ideally I would come at some point before bed, at least every other day, through intercourse or masturbation. It makes no real difference which one in terms of my sleep habits. So yeah, because if I haven't for a couple days, then that's gonna bother me all night too. That can also keep me awake, and that can you don't want to have a porn brain when you're trying to fall asleep at night either. You don't want to have to piss. You don't want to have to piss. You don't want to have to shit. You don't want to have an orgasm right when you're trying to get to sleep. Any of that just throws it off. So I have to coordinate all of those functions. Then I pretty much have to do some kind of exercise during the day. I do go to a gym. I'm not like a buff gym guy. I don't lift the weights so much. I'm pretty much strictly cardio. I've never particularly given a shit about getting buff or getting huge or getting swole. Never have, don't think I ever will. I think I'm a little too old to get into that for the first time. I do a tiny bit of body weight workouts, like I like pull-ups for some reason. That's like the one thing I can tolerate. Deadlifts and squats and bench presses and free weights with like dumbbells and even push-ups. I don't know, I just kind of don't particularly like doing any of that. It's just like, I don't know, it's not like it is painful for me, it's just kind of boring for me. I don't know, and then you gotta do lots of extra protein and stuff like that, so that all gets annoying. But like pull-ups for some reason are the one thing I can kind of tolerate, so I do that sometimes. But basically I'm just like cardio. It's fine. I don't really, just kind of keep a little bit lean. But it's not just to keep lean, it's because I gotta burn off that kind of energy somehow, because I'm not physically active in many other ways besides that. Maybe I should get into hiking or more intense swimming or tennis or something like that. I don't know, just so I can have another way to burn off physical energy besides just doing little jogs and cardio machines. But yeah, I have to do that as well. And basically everything I've just mentioned, limiting screen time and no real video games or TV at night, just kind of reading a book, not even on a Kindle or on a phone or whatever, on turning pages, in a paperback book. That, not looking at my phone, using ZQL, coordinating a whole plethora of bodily functions to hour precision, working. I got to do all of this stuff, and if I do all of these things together, like carefully coordinated, carefully thought out, carefully planned out, carefully structured, all day, every day, then I've found that I'm somewhat more likely to get some sleep at night. Like there have been several nights over the last couple months when I've hit a solid 6 hours of sleep, which doesn't sound, for most people that's less sleep than normal, but for me that's like amazing. Like last year my insomnia was becoming so lethal. Like I thought I was gonna fucking die from sleep deprivation last year. I thought I was gonna fucking drop fucking dead from whole weeks going by, not fucking kidding with you or exaggerating with you, whole weeks going by where my total sleep was adding up to 10 hours or 9 hours. Times I would just be awake for 40-50 hours at a stretch while trying to fall asleep, even while taking the ZQL, and it just not working. So I mean, having now there might be a 3-day stretch where I get 6 hours, 5 hours. To most people that probably sounds exhausting, but for me it's it's heavenly. I feel a lot more mentally alert than I have recently. So it sucks that I can't live a more normal life in this regard. I wish I could. It would be great, but this bizarre irregular behavior is just kind of what I have to do. So it's what I'm gonna do. It's what I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. The goal is 11 p.m. through 6 a.m. and I'm gonna try to stick with it. I'm gonna try to do it tonight, and we'll see what happens. Also, just because I don't want to make a standalone vlog on this one last topic, I decided that my novel writing, or novel, not really writing anymore because the draft is done, but the editing, rewriting, cutting, all that stuff, which I decided I'm going to try to work on that for 24 hours a week in 6 4-hour chunks. So I'm going to take Friday off, but Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I'm going to try to set aside 4 hours a day, like consecutively. It's pretty tricky, but I'm going to try to do it, to work on this novel, Six Swords on Silver Hill, that I'm embarrassed to admit how long ago I started page 1 of that novel, because it's an inexcusable amount of time, and I can blame outside forces, but really it's just my kind of laziness and depression and procrastination that's made it last this long. I should have finished this back in like a fall of 2021, and it's kind of a shame and a deep personal frustration of mine that I haven't. So I'm going to try to power through this 24 hours a week. That's pretty demanding around other stuff, but I'm gonna try to do it. And I'm also gonna try not to talk anymore about the novel on this channel until I'm announcing that it's done, because I do feel like at a certain point the creative process becomes a little bit lame and cringe to hear about if someone just keeps talking about it without putting out the damn thing. Like I don't think that when Martin Scorsese was making Mean Streets and Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, that he was putting out a vlog every other day about the frustration of getting through it, right? Maybe that's not a good comparison. Maybe a better comparison would be, I don't think that Ursula Le Guin was putting up videos on the internet about how she was struggling to write the Earthsea books, right? Or, as far as I know, Joe Abercrombie wasn't doing that for the First Law books, but I don't know. I don't really follow his blog or anything like that. Maybe he was, but either way, I'm going to try to minimize talk about that going forward. But that's part of why I want to get my sleep in order, because there are certain things you can kind of be half awake and muscle your way through. Like I just mentioned, my whole high school career and most of my college career too, frankly. But I feel like doing good work on a book is not one of those things. I need at least not 8 hours a day, because I know that's not going to happen, that my body just won't allow that. But if I could try to 6-7 hours a day, just have a relatively mentally alert state once I've, applied my brain with Monster Zeros and other energy drinks and the occasional coffee in the morning, I'm hoping that I'll be, alert and awake enough to push through 4 hours a day of trying to work on this thing almost every day, because I definitely want it to be done by, if not the beginning of summer, at least some point in the middle of summer, and move on to book 2 and hopefully not take as long working on that one as I have on book 1, because there's no excuse to be spending a quarter of a decade on one book. I don't think. Hard to be an author when you don't have books. So I want this to be basically the last time I talk about this on this channel until I announce that it's done. So I decided to just tack that on to more of a kind of Insomnia update and a life in general update. Nah, you guys don't want to hear about that. That's not interesting. That's not me being self-deprecating. Legitimately, there's nothing you would find interesting to hear about. And if I just started going on about my day-to-day, you just click off in a massive boredom, and you'd be right to do so. But so that's all I want to talk about. My insomnia, still terrible compared to a normal person, but with a great deal of planning and coordinating, I'm making slight headway on improving it. And I want to try to work on my book for a full day every week. That is 24 hours a week. Those are my goals going forward. Sleep and write, sleep and write, sleep and write, and do the occasional vlog like this one. So talk to y'all later.